I'm very, very inspired by people that have fought through adversity and to create change for the greater good, right? Like the Gandhis of the world, Malcolm X, or like you look at some of these rappers as well too, right? Like people that are just today talking about things like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar or whoever. A lot of these athletes that have gone through stuff. Muhammad Ali, for example, just he's a massive inspiration for me as well too, just to fight through what he had to go through. Not only just like the racism, but also not fighting in the war, and then just doing what he did in the ring. Like he showed the world that with heart and purpose and tenacity, you can still get things done your way and stay true to yourself. And so I think I've seen many companies come and go, and I'm not saying that we made it. I'm far from it, but I'm here today because I have such a clear why of what we want to get done with PlayCity and where we want to go. That all the other stuff kind of just happens, and it doesn't really affect the outcome. It affects me for that day, and yes, it sucks, but you have to have a marathon mindset. It's not a sprint, it's definitely a marathon. I just started thinking about like mortality really, and I was like, if I died in a week, do I want to live doing something I don't want to do? And that's not going to be impactful. I measure greatness and success by being true to yourself and focusing on what you truly want to do, not giving a shit about the outcome, but understanding that you're doing whatever you can with whatever you have, the tools that you have to try to make it happen. And I think if you can stay true to that vision and mission and go through the trenches that come along with it, you will be great.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Startup Impact. I am Shivi, and we are here today because we all want to live life that we love, but not many of us are able to live what we desire and especially make a paycheck out of it. Our guest today on the show is a true example of living life passionately. He is the founder of PlayCity and who is on the mission to bring the world together through play, Hafiz Mitha. Hafiz's journey has been truly remarkable. After completing his graduation, he started working in the financial sector by selling shares and bonds, but soon realized that climbing the corporate ladder was not that he wants, and he wants to create something more meaningful. So he quits his job and starts his entrepreneurship journey by forming his first company here in Calgary. But later, he sold his shares, moves all the way to live in India, Nepal, and Thailand to work with an NGO and who supports child education and sanitization. But later, he comes back to Calgary and forms PlayCity. He is also an amazing speaker. He has spoken at multiple platforms, including that of TEDx. So please help me in welcoming the man who loves living life through his heart, Hafiz Mitha. Hafiz, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm really excited to have you today.
Thanks, Shivi, for that intro. Man, you made me blush. That was quite the intro. It was very, very kind of you.
Yeah, that was great. I'm so thrilled to have you today, and I was really looking forward to speak to you on the show from some time. So I'm glad we are doing it today, and we are going to have fun today. I'm excited. Whenever I look at your journey, whenever I see what you have achieved, the first question that always comes to my mind is, like, while growing up and after completing your graduation, you started working 9 to 5, like we all do, but then you quit the job and you start your entrepreneurship journey. So did you always have that passion, and if so, like, when did you decide about it? How did you even figure it out? What is your passion, and how did it all started?
That's a great question, Ante. That takes me back to like my university days. So I used to work at Scotiabank in their call center, and I was selling credit cards and insurance, and that was never really like a passion of mine. It was just like a good part-time gig while I went to school that paid the bills, and it really gave me a lot of experience on how to sell through the phone and really build thick skin. You hear a lot of no's when you're selling at dinner time, especially with people that don't want to hear from you, right? Until you tell them that they're pre-approved for something, then the tone definitely changes. But I really found early on the importance of selling a value proposition and selling through a call. But I used to always be late for that job. It was funny. So I was almost number one in my team in sales, and all my other KPIs were great, but I was always like a couple minutes late. I wasn't the most punctual person at that stage. So all of my reviews were like good, but this has got to stop, otherwise we're gonna get written up. And I was like, I made you a lot of money this quarter. I do my job pretty well, but yet you're on me about this one thing over and over and over again. And I knew myself I should have been doing that better. I'm way more punctual now. But at that time, I was like surrounded by entrepreneurs. You know, my dad's an entrepreneur. My cousins are entrepreneurs. I have many friends that have that created their own businesses and live life on their own terms. So I remember just thinking one day that, so I guess what happened was I was in the sales team, and then the entire sales team kind of got weeded down to the top 12, and I was part of that team. And then it was only service. So sales moved to Toronto, and the entire Calgary call center was now service. And that was kind of the start of my exit, because now I went from selling things to now dealing with people's problems and them calling in and complaining and all that. And I'm like, that wasn't for me, right? So I like to be around positivity. I don't want to be around people that are complaining all day and calling me and bitching at me about stuff that I don't control. So I decided that that was going to be the end of it for me. And I knew at that point, I remember telling myself, actually, when I left that job, I'm like, this is the last time I work for anybody else. And I said it out loud, and I made it clear. And I was like, I'm not going to work for anybody else. And not in a way that you're always working for somebody, you know, we're working for our users and partners and whatever, but I was just not going to be at the whim of someone above me that was writing my check or telling me what to do or how I wanted to do it. So I knew I wanted to just control my destiny. So I think that the seed was planted then.
So you went from being into the autopilot to be into the more awareness state.
Yeah, I think so, right? Like I always knew that it was just a means to an end, getting some money while I was in university and whatever else. But as soon as I graduated and I was no longer, you know, I never wanted to be a banker. I was never going to go through like that corporate ladder to do my certifications to be like a mortgage broker or selling whatever, or, you know, branch manager. Like that was never my thing. So I just said, that was a cool run. You know, I learned a lot. I know for sure that I'm never going to work for anybody else. And now what do I do next, right? So that definitely sparked me, but it gave me the opportunity to work in an organization that helped me like learn through teammates about communication and accountability and how to get things done professionally. But at the same time, it taught me a lot about what I didn't want. That was more important than what I actually did want.
Now it makes all the sense, because I was reading one of your article where you talked about that entrepreneurship has been romanticized by the media. And the reality is that it is hard, tough, lonely, and very unpredictable road. So when you say that entrepreneurship is a mindset, what do you really mean by that?
So it's kind of like the marathon mindset. You know, I think you nailed it right now. When things are romanticized, everybody wants the quick fix. You know, there's I think the strongest man in the world, or one of the bodybuilders, who says that everybody wants to get jacked, but nobody wants to lift the weights, right? So as soon as you're in the gym and you're actually lifting the weight, you're like, wow, it's just tough, you know, and I'm sore, and yeah, I hurt. So it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. You know, I think that everyone's accustomed to hearing about these unicorns or overnight successes or whatever, when in actuality they're like 7 years in the making, and like, you know, a dozen pivots, and you know, hiring and firing of people, and partners leaving, and heartache, and borderline poverty, like all kinds of stuff. But you have to be so driven by a purpose that gets you through all this stuff, right? So I think I've seen many companies come and go, and I'm not saying that we made it, I'm far from it, but I'm here today because I have such a clear why of what we want to get done with PlayCity and where we want to go, that all the other stuff kind of just happens, and it doesn't really affect the outcome. It affects me for that day, and yes, it sucks, but you have to have a marathon mindset. It's not a sprint, it's definitely a marathon.
I'm glad that you touched about the purpose and the why. So why PlayCity? What is this PlayCity concept, and when did you realize that you have to start it?
Sure, yeah. So I was living in Bangkok after, so with my first company, we had a marketing agency that kind of morphed into a software development shop because we built our own product. So the marketing company was funding the software of the one product. Then we realized, like, you know, as someone on the call today was talking about getting out of the rat race. You know, we stopped wanting to chase clients and selling something on a retainer or whatever, when we could have one product and sell that globally. So Catapult was the name of the second company after Joy Media. That was the product name. And that took us to we went from an office in downtown Calgary with like 15 staff to a global office with everyone, both my partners, one living in the Czech Republic, the other one living in Bangkok, and I was living in Canada. So they basically told me like, look, you're born and raised in Calgary. I think you need some perspective. It'd be really good to just shake things up, right? Like we've got rid of the office, we've got rid of a lot of stuff. Like go out there and live, and just turn the world upside down. So I went to Bangkok. I lived there for about 6 months in 2014. And when I was living out there, I quickly realized that all the problems that I was having in my own mind, in my heart, or whatever I wanted with my partners, really stemming from my lack of passion for the company, was still there. Like it was so I changed my surroundings, and it was fun to party, and it was fun to like try something new and be out there. But underlying all of it was the same dissatisfaction that I had with my business partners and their vision, and in contrast to my vision. So I decided to sell my shares in 2014, and I came back home for a trip to Jamaica with my parents, and I just never went back. Like I was supposed to go back in April, I believe, or May, and I just never got on that plane. So I just said to my business partners, like, I think I'm done. Like I needed that escape. I needed that response to just step away and actually realize and be true to myself, to say that, I helped build this, yes, but I'm holding you back, and I personally think you're holding me back. So I sold my shares in 2014. I'm now on my sabbatical, and I just have all this time in the world, right? So I'm playing at more and more sports. I've always loved sports. I've loved team sports. I've loved everything from hockey to soccer to softball, you name it. I've always been active. But yeah, so we started just playing a lot more, and I started thinking about what I was going to do next. And I had some similar ideas. I almost started a food truck. I just started thinking about like mortality, really, and I was like, if I died in a week, do I want to live doing something I don't want to do, and that's not going to be impactful? So I started thinking about like food trucks, and how I could build something that, maybe you buy something and we pay it forward to the next person, like something of impact. And this is before I even knew Aman, like who owned Nako, and that was kind of his model. But there was so that was kind of up in the air. And then I was thinking about like, okay, I love sports, I love community. Naturally, I've always brought people together. I've always loved even at Scotiabank, when I worked at the bank, I would have soccer nights on Tuesdays or hockey nights, and I would bring the most random people in this call center together, and it'd be this mishmash of people, but we'd have a blast, and then people would walk away with like these relationships. And I was like, I never knew back then, but that was kind of like the seeds of what I wanted to do. So I kind of just didn't know what I was going to do. And then my buddy who runs this nonprofit says, you know what, you sit on our board, you've helped me with business development, you've helped me with crowdfunding. Why don't you come out here and visit? Come to Nepal and get your hands dirty, literally. And I thought there's no better time. I have some money because of my exit. I have nothing really going on. I need some time to think. And I remember going there with just a journal and just putting down all my thoughts of what I want to be known for, what do I want to spend my time doing, what will actually get me excited every day. And it started to kind of hit as I was there, because I met some kids that I didn't know, and we were starting to play soccer, volleyball, and I didn't know the language, and we couldn't communicate except for high fives and smiles and whatever. So I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, play, something about play. I love sports. We bring people together. And then when I came back to Calgary, I'm sitting here and I could not find anyone to play tennis with when I wanted to. And golf was out of the budget for me. I played a ton of golf before, and I was living beside these amazing tennis courts. And I was like, this is insane how hard it is for me to find someone in my own skill level that wants to play now. And who's going to be available now? I have an hour to kill. This is going to happen now. So then I started asking more and more friends, and I was like, how cool would it be to actually connect with new people using play as kind of that medium? And I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but I remember the first name was Want to Play, because I was like, do you want to play? Do you want to play? Do you want to play? And that was the idea. And then I remember thinking my aha moment was, okay, I know how I'm going to do it. There's dating apps out there that do an amazing job connecting people to preferences. People are using technology more and more. We're definitely spending way too much time online. So how do I solve this problem of isolation and loneliness and not knowing people using technology to actually connect offline? So that's when PlayCity was born, and I launched in February of 2016 through the help of an advisor, and the rest is kind of history. But it's kind of fun to go down that history again. I don't do that too often, but it's crazy how things kind of happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like asking questions and taking that break actually worked for you. And it works for all of us to actually slow down, take a moment, ask the right questions, and feel out what is our purpose, what we want to do, something different. And you are really right about loneliness and why you created PlayCity, because I know how PlayCity has helped me. And in
Mhm.
fact, I found a friend who I lost connections when I was in my previous job, and I lost my phone. Our building was taken over by WeWork, so we were not in touch anymore. She changed her office, and I lost my phone. I my contract got over, so that was like what, a year back, and I couldn't see her anymore. We were not connected on LinkedIn, and she's not on LinkedIn. So when I met you, and I started like seeing what PlayCity is, and there she was, and I was like, wow. And then we went for a walk. So thanks for bringing us together. Thanks for creating that PlayCity app for us. Thanks, Hafiz.
That's amazing. Those are the stories that keep the fuel going, and going back to like the mindset aspect of it. Every time I have any of these doubts or I want to stop or do something else, I come back to stories like that, and I'm like, this is why we do what we do. So thank you.
So what's your current team size like, and which all locations is PlayCity in? Like, I know it is in Calgary.
Mhm.
Is it in other provinces in Canada, in the world? Where are PlayCity app can be used?
Yeah, so the app can be used anywhere people download it. As long as there are a community of people that have downloaded it, there's utility there. So uh, a vanity metric we have is that we're downloaded in over 200 cities across the world. So anywhere from Mexico City to Dubai to Calgary to Vancouver. We're probably the most active, of course, in Calgary and Vancouver, a little bit of Montreal, and we're slowly growing Toronto now as well too. But oddly enough, is that we have a small contingency of people that are active in Germany, and I'm not sure how they found us, but they're using it, and that's cool. I'll find them somehow, and maybe we'll grow it out there more. But we really are active where our partners are active as well too. That because they're the ones that help promote us. We have this localized community marketplace in which we all thrive based on a shared value of increasing participation and activity. So Mac has been an amazing partner for us to take us nationwide. So we're going city by city using them as kind of like that platform to help us launch.
Yeah, it's such an amazing concept. I wish it was not just province wise, but like every city and like every part of the world where we all can connect and we can play together. And it's going to be so amazing. I wish like I moved from India to Canada by myself. So I wish I knew this app before, and if I could have made so many tons of friends and not just looking like at the dating sites, of course.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, Hafiz, you are like knowing you, you are a true inspiration to me. You have been such a great motivation, a great connector to me, and you're full of energy. You are your charismatic personality, and I was like Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week because of your meetup that you arrange, and we all meet. We are share our vulnerability factors there, and and that is something that I try never to miss. So I really want to know that who is your inspiration, and where did you get your inspiration from?
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I'm truly humbled every time I hear that, because it's we do these things because they're an extension of us. And I've been in some dark places before, and I've been lonely, and I know how it feels to be marginalized or whatever. And so it's cool to have a community that we're a part of. And communities are nothing without the people that are there. So without you and the other people that show up or the people on the app, there is nothing. So it's cool to just bring people together, and I feed off of that same energy. So I'm just as grateful for you showing up and being part of that as well, because I get a lot out of it myself. Um, but inspiration wise for me, like I've thought about that lately as well too. Sometimes I look on the walls of what I have in my house or whatever. I have Bob Marley back here, and I have Snoop Dogg and Tupac, and um, in my room I have like Muhammad Ali and some of these like athletes that I've had to really break through other stigmas, or just like, what I think of. I don't. I'm not really motivated by people that have made a lot of money. That's never really motivated me. I'm very, very inspired by people that have fought through adversity and to create change for the greater good, right? Like the Gandhis of the world, Malcolm X, or like you look at some of these rappers as well too, right? Like people that are just today talking about things like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar or whoever. A lot of these athletes that have gone through stuff, Muhammad Ali, for example, just he's a massive inspiration for me as well too, just to fight through what he had to go through, not only just like the racism, but also not fighting in the war, and then just doing what he did in the ring. Like he showed the world that with heart and purpose and tenacity, you can still get things done your way and stay true to yourself. And I always say my parents are my biggest heroes as well too, because they fought through so much stuff to create a life that has given me the privilege to even be able to try to solve these things, right? Like they came from East Africa in the 70s with literally nothing, like many other, immigrant parents. And I see them today still bust their ass, and they're constantly putting it out there, but they always make time for family. They always make time for the community. Like they're always doing things to balance their life out. So I know that, being called like the hippie of my family or whatever, someone that has like this vision of trying to make the world a better place, is only because my parents have put in all that work to give me that security. And yeah, to be able to do what I truly want to do and what I feel like my calling is. But I'm very inspired by a lot of athletes that I've gone through adversity.
Thank you for sharing your story, Hafiz. Really appreciate it. And I completely believe what you talk about, being of service to others. And that is exactly what he's talked about. What Gandhi says is like, you find your true in it when you lose yourself in the service of others. So I completely believe to that. And thank you for sharing. So I really want to know this because I've always seen you smiling. I have always seen you pumping others. But what pumps you up to wake you up in the morning? And what has been your biggest failure so far? And how did you overcome those challenges? How did you keep yourself motivated?
That's a good question. When I truly started to appreciate everything that we are versus like our body, our mind, our feelings, everything, what's going on, I truly started to look at that as like this infinite being of all this craziness going on inside and just fueling it with good things. I became a lot happier. I became a lot more grateful. I became a better person to my community, to my family, to my partner, like whoever. Um, it was just because I truly looked at that as like I started to do like the internal work. If you looked at me maybe like a couple of years ago, I was still driven, but I was so susceptible to like outside forces. So the waves, like the highs were high and the lows were low, and I didn't have this like equilibrium piece that I have now, right? So I feel like I'm more constant now today because I've tried and to do the work to actually figure out to be grateful for the simple things in life, being aware of my own mortality, that I could die at any time and be okay with that, and then be like understanding that I'm using my time wisely and doing the best I can. I've definitely cut a lot of the negativity out of my life, whether it was stuff that I was reading or watching or people I was hanging out with or listening to or whatever it was, right? I had to really take stock of everything in my life. Like, what do I want to be surrounded by? Because I know that as an empath and like an extroverted introvert, I absorb a lot of that energy. So I'm being a lot more intentional with who I hang out with or what I read or what I listen to. So I think just being intentional with my own mind space and my own well-being has made me not only respect myself more as a person, but also as this like being of like muscle and skin and brain and whatever. But it just makes me happier, right? And lately, um, I really feel like I'm living the message that we're sending out. So I feel aligned. I'm not selling bullshit. I'm not selling something that I don't believe in. I truly believe that I'm happier when I'm connected, when I'm physically active, when I'm doing something of service, when I'm drinking more water, when I'm eating better, when I'm taking care of our body, which is this temple. And the last thing I'll say about that is like a couple months ago, I adopted a dog, and she's been the greatest gift that I've ever had because like she's my ultimate accountability partner. I have to get outside 3 times a day to walk for at least an hour and a half. Um, she's just pumped just to be out there. I've learned so much from her in terms of just going through surgeries and understanding that she's now super resilient, and how she deals with adversity as well too. It just becomes something that you go through without it bogging you down, right? Like things will happen, and it's our mind that we can shift to get through things and not actually be a victim of something versus getting stronger by something.
Yeah, true. And that's what you have always said in your LinkedIn, like mindset is everything, it's just everything. And you have actually tried to bend the reality and choose your environment, which
Mm-hmm.
actually grows you. And this is exactly what I want to share here is as how we met. And I was referred to you by a common friend, and we started having this phone chat. which was supposed to be scheduled for 20 minutes, I guess. And I remember like the phone chat was very professional initially, and then everything just starts falling in places. But then we have to look back to connect the dots, but we
Right.
have to keep moving forward to achieve it. And saying that, my question is, you are a great connector, and this is what I know about you. So how do you build your relationships? How do you build those connections, and how do you basically keep those connections? Would there be any tips that you want to share for networking or to build any positive relationships in business?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for saying that as well too. Like I don't pride myself on being a great connector or look at that as a title of sorts. I just think that I don't know, like people want to work with people that they want to hang out with or like. So I would say if you want to be a better connector, be a better person, right? I think that many people are out for their own good first. So I try to lead with what can I do for you, right? Who can I connect you with, or maybe offer some advice or feedback or whatever. And sometimes it's taken and sometimes it's not. But I think the ones that stick to I guess naturally like the community are ones that appreciate it, the ones that are aligned. So I would say find commonalities between people. Like we started connecting because we started just chatting like raw chats, right? It wasn't like a super professional tie up, like what have you done for me? It's very much like let's talk about life and where you come from and what I've done and how we've connected and the people that we know. And so just I think being real with people very quickly gives them the opportunity to see your real self. So a tip I would say to anybody is lose the bullshit character. Just be you, right? uh, if you talk a certain way, speak that way. If you feel a certain way, say that thing, right? Like don't be afraid about how you'll be judged or whatever. Just say what you want to say, obviously being respectful of other people. So I would say lead with service, be yourself. And I've been really fortunate to, I guess, my sales background and whatever else, like utilize client relationship management tools or LinkedIn's been a fantastic tool for me, just as it's been for you, I presume. But like having those updates of people, what they're up to, and actually reaching out. There's too many people that will just kind of like something, or thumbs up, or whatever, right? Like add something of substance, maybe make a comment or have a private message to say, Shivi, I saw that thing that you did. That was amazing. I'm really proud of you. And I think that here's someone else that you should talk to or whatever like that as well too. Like take 2 seconds to try to build something of value before you try to ask for something for yourself, right? So yeah, there's a few things, but I think it just comes back to very simply be a better person and be someone that people want to hang around with, just because you're not being a fake, and just be real to yourself. And I think you'll just be a better person than everybody else.
Yeah, true. It should not be a one-way traffic. It should be
Right.
more of a connector, like keep more, like I believe, like to give before I actually ask.
Totally.
So yeah. And when you talked about being true self and lead with service, what is your definition of excellence? What is your definition of greatness?
I think greatness has always been kind of like ingrained with some of these societal definitions, whether it's from our parents or culturally or this country or whatever. So greatness oftentimes is like equated to status or I don't know, something that can be put on a wall, right? I used to chase accolades a lot. I'd get super pumped when I was in the paper. First time I was in the paper, I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" And it was cool. It was really cool because I came home and my parents had it on the wall, and more. It was funny because like the first time you're in the paper on the wall, and then the second time maybe I was in my grandma's room, and then the third time it was not at all. And I was like, you guys are not gonna put that up. Like I brought 5 for everybody. Like you're not gonna share them with the family and whatever. And it just becomes this thing that's just like, what are you chasing? You're chasing validation over and over and over again. And as soon as you leave that behind and you say, it's actually greatness is whatever you think greatness is, right? Greatness could be, if I measure, a million connections, or I've changed a million lives, I've set this goal for a million people through PlayCity. That's greatness to me. Do I measure my own greatness with $1 million in the bank account? No. Do I measure it by knowing this person or knowing that person? No, it helps. But do I measure greatness that way? I measure greatness and success by being true to yourself and focusing on what you truly want to do, not giving a shit about the outcome, but understanding that you're doing whatever you can with whatever you have, the tools that you have to try to make it happen. And I think if you can stay true to that vision and mission and go through the trenches that come along with it, you will be great. And that's hopefully where I'm headed, because I'm, I stand on the shoulders of giants and people that have allowed me to do this, right? But I think that greatness is it's very subjective. And yeah, at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow, I want to know that I just made as much impact as possible.
Absolutely. And what you just said, like, created so much of thought in my machine here. Like, universe actually supports people who supports life in itself, and that is what you're doing through PlayCity. You're impacting people. You're bringing, you're trying to make a better world. You're trying to connect people through play. You are being an inspiration to everyone out there. So you have been an inspiration. You have been to service to others. You have done so much for the community in total, through your journey in India, Nepal, and Thailand, and then finding your true purpose, building a PlayCity app. But my question is, what does Hafiz need to reach to his goal faster? What does PlayCity needs to make Hafiz reach to his goal faster? What is your ask from the community?
I guess my ask would be, support. I think the hardest thing is kind of getting the word out there, what you're up to, and finding partners that have marketing budgets or community investment budgets to get behind what we're up to, right? I always look at our partnerships not from a vendor perspective, but more of an affiliate. Like, I'm very committed to the technology that we're building to connect faster connections to people connect offline and go play and put their phones away. So I'm like the least techie tech guy you've met, because I want to get you off of your phone by using something quick and use technology for what it's supposed to be used for. So many of the partners that I've pitched to or talked to have this one rigid view of ROI, right? How much money have you made in my facility? And I get so turned off by that, because I want to be working with people that ask me questions like Mech did. How many people have you connected? How many people are happier today because of PlayCity? What's their level of well-being pre and post the intervention of PlayCity? Here's some money to go make that happen, and we'll help you grow. So if I was going to ask for anything, I would say support from community partners that have a shared mandate and mission to create diverse, active, healthier communities that can truly support our mission by providing the tools that we need to function, right? So that I can do the work that we do and be an affiliate partner to help them in their mission by just being a partner in what they're actually trying to accomplish.
Absolutely, Hafiz. And I speak to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, and I figured it out that there's a saying that 80% of the startups fail in their first year. So what would be your tips with your experience, that your 3 important tips to the people out there, the aspiring entrepreneurs who are watching the show and wants to get inspired by your journey?
I would suggest for any entrepreneur to add something of value and continually add value, right? You can't just build something and hope that people will come. You have to have a clear value proposition of what you're trying to offer and solve a need. So if you're not doing that and you're just kind of throwing things out there, good luck. It's like throwing a dart at no dartboard, right? You're just kind of tossing it out there. So have a clear business, I guess, not personal, a persona of the person you're trying to serve. So be clear on your audience. I guess that's an easy way of saying it. Be clear on your audience, be clear on the value proposition, and understand going in that it's, I would read a book it's called The Dip. I think it was a short little book by Seth Godin, I believe. And it just really talks about, like, anytime you start something, you're super excited and then you hit this dip. And usually people fail right here at this dip. Maybe that's year 1 because it gets super hard. It's like learning golf. Like, use the example of learning golf. Like, I want to learn how to golf at the range. Oh, I suck at golf. It's gonna be so much fun. And then we start playing. Oh my God, I suck. Holy shit. Oh my God, I've spent so much money. Why am I doing this? And then the people that actually get through are the ones like, okay, I did the lessons. I've got better, and now I'm a better golfer, and I can consistently keep going. So if you don't have the capacity to get through this dip, don't even start, because you're wasting your time, right? So have that mentality of, like, you will suck at whatever you start. It was going to be tough. It's going to be super difficult. But with enough tenacity and grit and the right coaching, you can get through this dip and succeed and get to whatever, trajectory that you want to get on. But have the mindset that it is a tough go, right? It's not for everybody. But if you believe in something, um, Simon Sinek says it the best as well too, right? If your why is strong enough, the how will figure itself out, right?
Yeah, sure. And like knowing your audience, like doing some research before, and research is never enough. So continue doing that. Know your audience, do the know your value, know your purpose, why you're doing this, and your why should always be clear. Absolutely, Hafiz. And I think those three would be a remarkable points for any entrepreneur who is getting into this dip hole that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So there is another important question that normally comes from our audience, who is another segment of job seekers out there. So we have seen much job loss during COVID than we have seen at any point. So you have seen both the sides. You have been working for someone, and now you have your own company. So
Mm-hmm.
you would be the perfect person to advise on this. What would be your advice to the job seekers out there who is looking for the opportunities after this new normal situation, and how should they secure the employment? Any tips from your end?
Yeah, I think I would go back to not wasting time and understanding that COVID has been a gift to actually slow things down. And you're a perfect example of this as well too, right? Like you started a podcast through COVID. You started this through COVID. Like you're doing truly what you love, right? So I remember when we had our agency, when we would hire people, the first thing I would ask them was, okay, cool. Like you do that for work, but great. What do you do on the side? What are you actually passionate about? Like tell me about your hobbies. And if they were nowhere near what they were actually trying to apply for, I would say like, yeah, it's not for you, right? If they were aligned with what they were actually trying to do, like, if, for example, when we would hire a coder, if you told me after work, like I'm coding my own games, or I'm trying to figure this out, or I'm doing a class, a master class, or I'm trying to figure something out, I said, this person's actually passionate about what they're doing. So don't try to fake it to try to, try to make it happen somewhere. You'll be exposed pretty quick. And I think recruiters see right through that shit. So figure out at this time. And the other thing is that there's no excuse to not to know something today as well too. We have the technology that will teach you literally anything you want to know, whether it's starting a podcast or creating a website or creating a potential app or starting, I don't know, whatever, some kind of retreat. You can get certified in anything if you actually want to do it. So if you're going to go to someone, never use an excuse of not knowing something as something that of hindrance. You simply do not have passion for that subject. Just be real with yourself. So I would suggest for people that are looking for jobs, I think Robin said this as well too. It's just grow something, build something. And when you apply for something and say, you know what, I know that you guys already have this. So for example, if you're a social media marketing manager, I already understand you have a product and you already have a manager and you have this team, but here's something that I've created. Here's a template of things I think you could use or whatever. And just show them value, right? Show some initiative. Like I think today everyone has perfected or got really good at creating this false persona on Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, that everyone's an all-star at something, right? And it's like, you may be, but when you're talking to someone face to face and they really find out what you're about, like just be true to that. And if you're not, don't.
Yeah, true. Recruiters these days, in fact, the CEOs, the CTOs these days want you see more rather than go into the tell mode.
Right.
I believe like this is a time when we can actually do more of the research, understand where our passion is, and try to build something, because we save so much of time on travel these days,
Right.
not getting distracted by the colleagues or even not going at the coffee meetings. We can
Right.
just jump on the Zoom call. So yeah, I think we can actually utilize this time and build something that we all are passionate about. And I would completely agree to that, and I would encourage to this too. So Hafiz, thank you so much for giving tips to our inspiring entrepreneurs and also to the job seekers. Before we end the show, this is my favorite part of the show, my favorite question. What is the impact that Hafiz wants to create, the mark that Hafiz wants to create and leave behind?
I want to leave the world a more connected, healthier, and happier, but also more caring than it was before. And I mean that in the terms of connecting people from different backgrounds so that we can have conversations and end racism and ignorance and things that are so arbitrary and things that are just based on lack of knowledge or lack of interaction with someone that's completely, different from us, and actually realize how similar we all are.
Absolutely. Wow. That's a great insight, Hafiz. And thank you so much for sharing your learnings. I had amazing fun with you today. And I love that dartboard of yours as usual. That's like the picture perfect moment right now. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Hafiz. I had amazing learnings and I'm sure everyone else had.
Thanks so much for having me. Congrats on the launch of your podcast.
Hey everyone, that was Hafiz Mitha on the Startup Impact Show, sharing some powerful insights. I also want to thank all my viewers today for their support and their love. Without you, this show would have not been possible. Thank you so much for your encouragement. So, if you are a job seeker or an aspiring entrepreneur, or if you have any questions from the industry leaders, please leave them in the comment box and I'll make sure to ask in my next episodes. Till then, stay safe and spread awesomeness.